Aloha, everyone. This is JasonSchwartz here at the Neutral Zone. We had a little clumsy opening there. Please excuse me. I have two guests here today. Last week we were going to have EddieGarcia, who is, I want to say, been our champion at looking at the toxic waste occurrence there that got created by the Army Corps of Engineers and FEMA and the mayor and the council approving it. But he was unavailable. He had a guest that I think everybody knows that was taking my time. I said, oh, that's okay. Robert Kennedy came here, who is an environmental lawyer. Well, today we have EddieGarcia and LikoMartin. Thank you for joining us, both of you gentlemen.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you.
I want you to feel free to jump in on me talking, but I'm just going to give a little opening. For you around the world who may not know specifically, we all know that Lahaina got wiped out, and it left a layer of toxic ash with all kinds of poisons in it. And the question is what to do with it. And there were a number of sites that were brought up to people. In fact, one of my co-hosts, Scott Bushnell, brought it to my attention way before the vote and public testimony. When I went to the public testimony, there was one gentleman that stood up that basically shamed the council. He had provided a ton of information that really made it very clear that it was a very poor choice. And yet it was the choice. They were already moving on it before that day that they were talking there. And now they've proceeded. And Eddie, thank you for all the hard work you're doing and all the video and drones and gathering support for this. I want you to jump in and tell these people, kind of give them a
okay.
burst,
well, thank you for having me.
Sure.
And Uncle Liko here.
Yeah.
First off and foremost, I want to share with everyone that I'm not doing this out of a selfish mentality, out of the farm next door, which I would have the right to do because we have over 70,000 pounds of food in the ground that were given to our community. We were also displaced by the fires, so we are also part of that situation. Our farm burned where we were living. We lost all of the trees we'd put in the ground for several years. We lost our only income from our fruit farm stand that I'd been establishing. And we're some of the leaders in the field for regenerative agriculture. We teach our community. That's what I'm here for. In this day, in this point in my life, that's how I can give back to my community is through regenerative agriculture. So why I've been speaking so loudly about the dump, though, is beyond that. It's about my kupuna. It's about all of our kupuna and the elders from Olowalu that have from day one always looked at that, what they call a cinder pit, which is known as the ovaries of Pele, and brought down through stories, through generations. It's the most prominent feature in Olowalu. There are cultural sites on that that are directly significant to the voyaging canoes. The gateway to Tahiti, when the Southern Cross rises in between Koholave and Lanai. On those hills is where they would light the torches at those ahus to bring in the canoe and let them know that this was a place of refuge, Olowalu in particular, so that if you were coming from another place, if you came to Olowalu, you'd have a safe place. The spears and the clubs weren't coming out. This was a place of refuge, again, like we say, and so it was a really important part of Maui. The capital was right down the road in Lahaina, and Olowalu was the breadbasket as well. So if you came there and you sought refuge, then you had to help, you had to farm, you had to malama. The values of the ancient Hawaiians and the modern Hawaiians, I believe still, were to the land, to the aina, to take care, to malama. And so what we see with the atrocity of this cinder pit, what they call it, in the early 70s and 80s, they were taking it apart to build the hotels in Ka'anapali. It was wrong then. They had a dump next door to it. That dump for years operated, and then they shut it down in 91 because of its proximity to the ocean, because of the fact that landfills leach and poison reef systems and whatnot. So they shut that down. Now the disaster happens in Lahaina, and they say, oh, wow, there's nothing there but a cinder pit. Let's just put it there. Well, don't you think that should take some community involvement, some meetings with the kupuna from Olowalu? Well, there was one.
There was?
Yeah.
When I first heard that was the location, I was like, oh yeah, what else is there? I mean, why would they start with such a sensitive Hawaiian important location and choose that? Because it's closer? Is that what it is? Is it because they could and they had some kind of financial control and pushed the mayor? Why were they starting this before any approvals and all the things that just mind-blowing to me?
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead, please.
To my understanding, from what we've seen unfold, the very first meeting, and you can find it on YouTube, where all the kupuna were brought together in Olowalu, and they were telling them how safe it was going to be. They showed them this liner with 8 feet of soil, all these things. They were all adamantly against it. We were actually told in the public's eye that they were for it and no one was against it, and that it would take months and many more meetings to make this happen. A few weeks later, I noticed machines working behind the cinder pit. So I fly my drones. I have dust covering my farm from them opening up what they call a cinder pit, and that's actually the pu'u honoa. I shouldn't even be referring it to as a cinder pit because it is very much a cultural identity of Olowalu, and it's very important to the kupuna that are there. Now let's go on to the next thing. What's in Lahaina? People aren't aware that PVC and vinyl, anything made with chlorine in the process, creates what's known as dioxins, furans, known as the dirty dozen, some of the worst chemicals known to man. Actually, the most toxic man-made chemical known to man, and the worst the worst man-made disasters are all attributed to dioxin. And what people don't realize is the PVC that was in the pipes, the conduit, the wiring in the walls, the vinyl siding, everything that did not burn to a crisp is laden with these really, really bad chemicals. No one's wanted to talk about them. There are no allowable limits for them whatsoever, and they're known as accumulative toxins, the forever chemicals. There's a lot of research on it. So we started asking the county, wait, what's your protocol for that? What are you going to do? Oh, we're going to put it in a pit. Well, what happens when it rains? It's wide open. Oh, it's going to go into a leachment containment pit. Well, what are you going to do with that? Oh, well, we're going to test it, and then no direct answer. So for months, we were like, those are giant red flags. What's happening here? And just like we thought on the first rain, before they were putting toxic material in it, we had just under 3 inches of rain, 3 point something, just under 4, or right around 3 inches, and it filled it up with 400,000 gallons of material. Not only that, in the main area where they're stacking the trash, it actually came within 2 feet of overflowing that pit because it's a bad design. Also, they have almost 6 acres of non-permeable surface, which basically equates into 160,000 gallons of water for every inch of rain. So do the math. 4 inches of rain is almost 700,000, 800,000 gallons of water already. And now that's gone through the mess and turned into this toxic tea, and now it's going to sit in this reservoir that they are calling a closed-loop system. What is that? A closed-loop system means you're going to pump. It's got 4 inches of rain. It filled the lower reservoir. And now they're saying, oh, we're going to spray that up onto the pile to keep dust out of it. So you're going to recirculate it into this super toxic material. And then when the next 4-inch rain comes next week in Lono season, what are you going to do with that? Oh, well, we're gonna test it, and if it's not bad, we'll dump it into the ground. It takes 3, 4, sometimes 6 months for testing on dioxins and furans. Their molecular structure is so similar, it's very hard to tell them apart. So there's only a few specialists in the world that are really adept at this. So these tests come back inconclusive. And I guess it's going to rain in 3 days. How are you going to get the test back for the dioxins as you dump that right into the ground? And in the ground, I mean into a cinder pit. That 400,000 gallons of water disappeared in less than 6 hours. That shows the porosity of it and how it's just going straight down into the ground. That is only 600 yards from the ocean. And unfortunately, the county and the administration they've had our fact sheets on their desks for months now.
Well, I was going to say.
We spent upward of $40,000 creating these documents. These all came from the EPA. They came from some of the best scientists in the world. And they told the public that we were basically lying, that we were putting out false information. And this is just like we've told them, okay, if it's false information, then check your facts. Look at our document. We've sent it out all over the place. No one has been able to disprove any of the facts facts we've put out. In fact, we've debunked their math right in public meetings, factual. So there, it comes back to, why did they make this decision? They made this decision because it was a cheap way out. The Army Corps of Engineers said, let's do the temporary 8 miles away. We'll put it here. We'll just make it the permanent. We'll all save billions of dollars. So they tried to put it through right at Christmas. Like the December 4th is when we took the first drone shots. They were scheduled to dump material in there on January 6th. No one had heard about it. So the first public outcry came with like 400 people to the meeting on the 18th at the Civic Center. Right. After that was the county council meeting where hundreds of people showed up. 150 people testified against it. I believe there's no more than 1 to 3 testimonies for it. So that should have given you a sample of what the polling would be and what the general consensus is of our public. And then so rather than saying, hey, maybe we should backpedal and think about this, oh, we've already got so many millions into it. If we choose another site, all that money will be gone. The Corps of Engineers will not pay them for the work they've put into that site already. So what that really says clearly is that you made a mistake. You put all this money in there, but what price is there for our grandchildren, for the future generations, for the destruction that's going to happen as some of the worst chemicals known to man are being put straight into the water table and into the ocean? And not only that, the way station is 15 feet away from the highway, where in Lahaina it's completely contained. But now you're going to put every single person on the island who comes to Lahaina 15 feet away from the way station with a toxin.
And you had a video where you showed the rain, and you showed that the water is running along the road, and that they've mixed regular dirt with the toxic ash, so their intended moving of this to another location is now going to be double or triple the amount of volume along a highway that's real precarious. I mean, it's so foolish. It's beyond, and I don't know who has the power to stop it now. Is there an injunction or anyone?
So there are some, I believe, some movements in that direction from some folks. Okay. I think that Earth Justice, I think that Surfrider, I think there is outreach from JFK, NBC News, ABC News. It's about ready to hit the mainstream, and hopefully that will put enough pressure on them to use some common sense. Yeah, you made a bad choice. You made a mistake. But don't just let the money rule you killing our grandchildren and disrespecting our kupuna. Like, and everyone's like, and for me, it's been a real hard spot because of what the administration has done, trying to put out that we're putting false facts out or that we're keeping someone from their home in Lahaina. We look at the statistics. 20% of the people in Lahaina that owned homes and were the victims, it amounts to about 400 households. And no disrespect, our heart goes out for all of them. But the other 11,000 people were renters. They're not getting back into Lahaina. There's no place for them to be. So we're talking about the majority of the homeowners out of those 2,000 houses were people from the mainland, were people from Kahului, were people from Oahu, people that didn't live in Lahaina. Yes, they serve the renters, but the narrative is not entirely factual, saying that people are going to get and be living in Lahaina before 3 years. And so they're saying we have to move it to Lahaina. I mean, we have to move it to Olowalu. We have to move it there, put it in water where we've made another major problem, increase its volumes by maybe as much as 5 times. Wow. So from 400,000 cubic yards to 20,000,
2 million.
2 million cubic yards. Now imagine if that took 40,000 trucks, how many trucks is it going to take to dig it out of this area you've ruined? Now still put it on the highway, another 20 miles to the dump. And that's what they were saying they didn't want to do, but now you're going to do it where the island has way more people on it.
Beyond it,
like, where's the logic?
What's the logic? Right.
So it seems to me it comes down to about money and bad mistakes. But I implore the county council, the mayor, the governor, to really take a close look at this. Look at the facts, look at the math, and please, for the sake of our community, for our grandchildren, for the cultural aspects of it, for the environmental catastrophe that is unfolding right now, And the last rain, I think people have seen my videos where there's hundreds of thousands of gallons of water just from the road that they put in, because they paved a spot that was cinder that would normally soak into that mountain, and now this entire surface area of about 4 or 5 acres of road is leaned directly onto my property on the place that I lease and I farm and I grow food for folks, and no accountability. Instead of like actually acknowledging that or doing anything to try to remedy that, there's just denial. And the facts are going to come out, and the amount of contamination that's left on the road in transit, the amount that's left from driving in and out of the pit, and we're filming it on their tires, we're filming it running down the hill onto our property, we're taking tests. These are the facts, they're undeniable. So like this river they live in Africa, denial, somewhere, whatever it is, I'm constantly having to make fun of their burrito, their chimichanga. Whatever their logic is, it's like they're children, and they're not really looking at the facts. And I haven't been critical of the administration. I've just been trying to put the facts out there. But at this point, wake up and listen to the people. Don't create the narrative that you're pitting people against people and telling people that we're keeping them out of Lahaina, because it's not true. We're just saying, look, find the right way to do this. And if it takes a month or two longer, then start containing the trouble spots in Lahaina. We've put out alternatives for containment systems, working with some of the large Matson, Pesha, working with a whole group of scientists from around the world that are saying, look, that's what they did in Haiti. That's what they did in 9/11 and in some of these other areas to containerize it dry. You could stack 400,000 cubic yards of all the material in Lahaina, 9 containers high on 10 acres of land. It could sit there for a few years if need be, totally safe, not in the environment, not around anyone, and then you could make the decision to take it clean to the correct spot and how it's going to be dealt with.
Plus, you also mentioned that it's right now in Lahaina was in a contained spot as best they could. So instead of just leaving it in one place, they keep spreading it, and they keep spreading it. And like you say, every tire that goes around the road is taking material and moving it. It's leaching into the land and into the ocean already. And all of you out there, I hope that you'll be sharing this show with everyone that you know, and anyone and everyone, to stop this right now, dead in its tracks. The power is going to be, I hope, through the voice of more than even the people of these islands. And, of course, Liko, you're here, I'm sure, because the Hawaiians probably are beside themselves.
It speaks to the world. Brings to mind a song in 1978. I took refuge on the West Coast and ended up in what I call the right armpit of America, the hugest, largest auto dismantling wrecking yard. And I took refuge there, and this is a song that came from that time. Made my way to a wrecking yard. My old Ford needed a part. I couldn't leave and I didn't want to stay. Couldn't even get $1 for an old Chevrolet that didn't make it on the merry-go-round. It's not even going up or down, 'cause this whole world's turning inside out. This whole world's turning inside out. I said that this whole world's turning inside out again. Across the street, it was nice and clean. A spit and polished up reactor machine. And late at night, when the sun goes down, you're blowing out all of the other stuff that didn't make it on the merry-go-round. It's not even going up or down, 'cause this whole world's turning inside out. And this whole world's turning inside out. I said that this whole world's been turned inside out again and again and again and again. I said that this whole world's turning inside out again. So I made my way through the wrecking yard. My old Ford needed a part. I couldn't leave and I didn't want to stay. Couldn't even get $1 for an old Chevrolet that didn't make it on a merry-go-round. It's not even going up or down, 'cause this whole world is turning inside out. And this whole world's turning inside out. I said that this whole world's turning inside out again. Thank you, Eddie, for sharing this story. You know, it's a real deal, real deal. Thank you for all your time and all your aloha, ba. Okay?
Yeah.
So, hana ho, ba. Keep going with the story.
Yeah, like you said, you're not looking to become the point of this story at all, but
No.
you've been the champion bringing the information out. I'm very appreciative myself, and I know everyone is. Thank you for your commitment to all of us.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not a super emotional guy,
Yeah.
but when I see that our kupuna are being overlooked and not listened to and not heard, we are making the mistake of listening to the wisdom of our elders. And a lot of people think that, you know, because they see the social media side of things, or they think that our egos are involved here, there's tears in my eyes and I'm crying because I love the old timers. I grew up with the kupuna and I grew up in the old ways. I'm a bit older than I look, and I've been around some incredible magical people in my life, and I respect their mana'o and what they have to say. And I think that there's a lot of kids out there right now with their arms up in the air and they want to fight for something. But what they should really be doing is listening to their elders and their kupuna and trying to group together as one. And if there's anything that's been worth fighting for on Maui, don't turn it into the armpit of America. Don't let this happen. They've ruined all the streams.
Yeah, it's beyond our understanding for a long time here. I mean, when I hear the name LikoMartin, my brain says, wait a minute, LikoMartin, where have I known? Over the years, you know, but that whole thing with Ko'olave, right? Weren't you there with Walter and the whole deal? So
Actually,
you've been involved a
way
long
back
time.
to the
I know.
time when the transition away from sustainability and humanity and the cooperation and the one world, let's take care of each other and take care of our source, began to shift back to the time of Kalama Valley, and actually for me a little deeper than that, back to the time when I was in Kwajalein. Started at the height of the nuclear explosions. That after I left Kwajalein, 50 of them. I mean, it speaks for the, you know, of the velocity and the scope of the consciousness that needs to be addressed, and the repair, and going forward. How are we going to deal with this on a global, universal level?
Well, we have the world's focus on Maui. This incredible thing that's happened there on the west side. Maybe this is the catalyst that's going to align people in positive action about, coming from their heart and doing what's right for humanity and just stopping this one cold. We can hope. I hope that the people that are putting the efforts to stop this somehow have the power to do that. I know that there's going to be more and more focus on this. I'm not sure when it's. You think it's going to? You mentioned JFK. I'm sure you meant Robert
There's a
Kennedy.
lot of things that are coming
out.
There's a lot of things that are coming out in the works right now. RFK and what they're going to put forward. Also, NBC News, ABC News. There's a lot of the attention of the world is starting to come here, and it's with good reason. If the worst natural disasters in history are attributed to dioxins and furans, and you're about ready to put a whole million-gallon reservoir with no answer but to dump it into the ground in the cinder right over a water table, then you are literally creating a super fund.
Yeah.
And for those who are unaware of what a super fund is, it's when these terrible natural disasters have happened, the federal government has had to come in with billions of dollars to take care of it. We could do this right the first time. We could take the time, not cut corners, not just trying to find the easiest fix so that you can look good politically, or that you can still get paid back for the Corps of Engineers money. We need to really think about our grandchildren. We need to think about the future of Maui. We need to think about each other. And so this is literally, we are 4 inches away from a super fund. And I don't think people realize that.
That I'm sure they don't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
But many people, they don't know what they can do. What can they do except open their hearts and voices? And
I have something that's coming up. Am I interrupting? Sorry.
Not at all.
Yeah. So we have a meeting that the kupuna from Olowalu, the kupuna who live there, feet on the ground, and lineal descendants such as Liko and his family, that want to answer questions to the public and are going to show up in what's called Ho'oponopono, a safe place for everybody to come and talk about it. There'll be about 50 people in the room, and then it'll be on Skype, and I believe Akaku is also going to air it. And people will be able to listen to how the kupuna feel about it. And though it's not just some guy with a farm next door ranting for no reason, it's facts. And we also want to hear from the people who believe it's a good idea. Come tell us in a safe space why we're wrong. Tell us why it's a good idea. And we will hear you and communicate with you in a safe place. And that's really important. We want to hear from everyone. We don't want to just say, oh, this is the only way. But if there's some logic we're missing in it, then let's hear it. And if you think that I'm just the farmer screaming about it, well, then come listen to your kupuna who you respect and hear what they have to say about it. And then on the third round of that, we have had scientists in place for several months. We've had $40,000 documents sitting in the mayor's office and all the county council before they made this decision. They chose not to look at it over one thing, the money. And if you listen to Gabe Johnson, the guy from Lanai, who's just been a champion for us and tried to bring some common sense, he says it in those county council meetings. And yeah, they put us under the hammer. The money was already spent. There's really nothing we could do about it, or we wouldn't get the funding. We would lose the funding from the Corps of Engineers. Well, what about losing our grandchildren? What about losing our way of life?
And all the tourism that you've created in West Maui is now, everything's going to get destroyed, and our future generations are going to deal with a toxic site. You can't turn that stuff around, and that really is just beyond my understanding. I'm sure that we're going to see a cry like we've never heard before from the people. Right, people?
Yeah, and from the mainland as well, I implore you. You've been parasailing here. You've been married here. You want to come back here and not have to roll your windows up and not be able to go snorkeling. Then put pressure on the powers that be to expose this and not let it happen. Let's force them to make to deal with this. And it's urgent. It needs to happen right away. They need to do something immediately to deal with that reservoir they're ready to dump in the ground. And I also want to hear more from.
Well, I've got another song.
Sure.
Another song that it's almost written for this situation, and it comes on the heels of another situation, a 1,000-year flood that occurred on Kauai some years ago. Flows after the rains have fallen. Who cares where the river flows now that the land lies fallow? I say, what's left will the tide bring in? Empty nets and flowers. Where the river goes down that winding valley. And who knows where the river goes after the rains have fallen? Who cares when the children cry, give me some bread and water? Well, what's left will the tide bring in? Smoke and ash and fire. Who knows where the river goes down that winding valley? People say, well, I'm just gonna do my thing anyway. And who cares what the shape is in? Surely the Lord Creator. Where the river goes after the rains have fallen. Who cares when the children cry, give me some bread and water? I said, what's left will the tide roll in with empty nets and flowers? Where the river flows down that winding valley.
Who knows where the river flows? Yeah. That sounds like Kauai, but also is perfect for what's going on here, sadly.
Yeah, around the whole world.
Yeah.
And just focus right in here. So I'm just, yeah. Once again, thank you, Eddie. Mahalo, and to everyone out there, and that this will reach deep into the hearts, and we can say it's like one of those, we're not, when in doubt, think about it.
When in doubt, think about. Don't move.
Yeah.
It's just it's beyond anything any of us could even imagine.
Yeah.
But
it's okay. It's okay to to correct, to make correction. I think this is really coming forward, Eddie, with what is going to be provided in this short to happen event is going to bring out where we Ho'oponopono, we're allowed to look into ourselves and come out and say, okay, let's regroup. And let's make the right decision now with good enough time. Hopefully we can correct it, put the brakes on, boom, contain, consolidate that energy and concern and treat it and give it the respect that it really deserves. For the Aina, for the people, for the crisis, and show the world as an example of what we can do.
Right. And in a loving way, we're bringing it forth in an open, fair, non-combative way. That's what I hope to do right here in the neutral zone.
That's right.
Yeah,
we're anything but neutral, but we want to bring subjects up. Over the years that we've been talking about just in general, it's always been a little bit elusive why things weren't happening, but this is at a scale that is so gigantic that I would say this is like this is a shot heard around the world. Nobody can deny and know about Maui, and everyone that will hear this story their hearts have to open. When I go on Instagram to Living Earth Systems and look at your videos, you document it. There's no question. You're not making any opinions. You're just showing the facts, and it is, I think, beyond any kind of, how can anyone deny what we see is happening?
In note to that, just the same atrocity that we would make our kupuna sit in the back seat, that we wouldn't put them up front and listen to them first. Learn from the mistakes that have been made in the past. Enough of that. Our kupuna need to be in the front seat. Our elders need to be up making the decisions. And before administrations make decisions, I think, I'm just going to say it, one of the problems with Mr. Bisson personally is he's treating this like he's still a judge.
Yeah.
He's not treating this like a servant of the people. Now, he's saying that, I'm doing this for the people. I'm doing this to get the people back in Lahaina. But we all know, look at Paradise. Look at all the disasters that have happened before. A few people will be able to clear their land and go back and start to plant things and get ready. But that is not the majority of the victims in Lahaina. The majority of victims in the Lahaina are in a housing crisis right now, and we need to get those folks into houses. We don't need to say, look, we need to poison another place because that's going to get them back into houses, because that's just not true. So, we've made mistakes. Everyone has. Let's bring it to the table, and why should we get a cheap fix? They're talking about, it's a $70 million dump site, right? So if we listen to all the projections by the Corps of Engineers, how much was it to take it to the mainland, and how big of a problem was it? First, we heard it was a $10 billion problem. Then they shifted it down to a $4 billion problem. Now they're telling us they only want to spend $70 million on it. $70 million is less than 1% of $1 billion. Less than 1%. So that's what we get. We don't get even $1 billion to help us solve this problem, because we know right now Clean Harbors has put a proposal in. It's on the mayor's desk. I doubt they want to make it public. But one of the things we're going to try to force with this is that they listen to these proposals that have been set forward. There are companies that will come in. One company right now for $400 a yard, they will take every bit of it to an incineration plant on the mainland. 100% for $160 million. Right now, they currently have a $70 million bill. It's twice what they're doing. So what happened to these $4 billion price tags? Don't we deserve that for the future of our grandchildren? This is what this really comes down to, is money.
Yeah, I mean, what can we say past that? That really says it all, doesn't it?
I think it does.
Yeah. My God. Liko, I hear another song coming out of you.
This is good.
We all need to stand together. You know that.
The basis and this song is, goes out, speaks for itself.
I like your guitar.
Well, we've all been down this valley road before. down the lost highway to the great unknown. Before time for all the makers, the movers, shakers, and bakers, time to sing a song for the sake of the sky above. Oh, now look at the city lights, ablazing with glory through the night. Well, sometimes I wonder, when the night is dark and thunder speaks louder than a keg of dynamite. 'Cause we've been riding long and riding hard, making up stories about the dinosaurs and running it down and running away. I said, even the rainbows are fading away. Even the rainbows are fading away. Oh, now look, the forest is a sweet delight, like lovers on a full moon night. But what's lying at the end of this road, oh no, is an old junk car and a half rainbow. We've been riding long and riding hard, making up stories about the dinosaurs and running it down and running away. I said, even the rainbows are fading away. Even the rainbows are fading away. Well, there'll be sweltering summers and icebergs in your tea. Well, keeping it cool is keeping it green. Well, one time an earth oasis are living in this. Well, it's a one time an earth oasis. She's a star of the galaxy. And we've been riding long and riding hard, making up stories about the dinosaurs, running it down and running away. Even the rainbows are fading away. Even the rainbows are fading away. Even the rainbows are fading away.
Stand up, Maui. Let's save the day.
Stand up, Maui. We can do it.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, oh gosh, about, I can't see because I'm probably 11, 12, 13 minutes before the end of the show. I think it's really important to express that this is not the first time that we've seen this kind of thing happen. You can probably attest. I've been here 30 years, something like that. And you've been here probably longer, yeah?
Yeah,
Your whole life.
Yeah.
I've seen this since the beginning. Back in 1993 and 92, I was a Green Party candidate. And I guess I was a little too radical. I wasn't really radical at all. Now the world embraces. But it was literally blocked. And over the years, we've seen our council push the housing problem back 2 years and back 2 years. The priority, I remember Vince Pagoyo a couple of decades ago, who was on council, talking about we need 5,000 houses, we need 8,000 new places. And here we are, we need so many new places, it's beyond. And the fact that we're still fighting that same thing, and all the wisdom that has been shared from the Hawaiians and from all kinds of people have just not been embraced. This has just been a politically driven island, and our plans have all been that. And I think it's really just the right time, never better than now, but this is one of those issues that you can't deny. A future Superfund site unless we stop. You know, billions of dollars are going to be spent in protecting what they're creating, and they can stop creating it now. I sure hope that all of our audience is going to be sharing this message as broadly as they can, and whatever kind of support that you can lend, please do.
I want to point out one thing into that, and that is the logistics of containing it in containers in Lahaina is by far the best. The county council and the Corps of Engineers is given all the reasons they can't do it. Yet it's been done in Puerto Rico. It's been done all over the world by some of these big companies that have it down to a science already. The shipping container companies, Matson, have not 7,000 containers to put in 400,000 cubic yards. Even if it was the county's number, which they did the math wrong, 12,000 containers. 11,000 containers sit on one super barge. So all of their logistics and the reason that they won't put it in containers is flawed. To contain it in Lahaina and to put it in a place where it's safe. Why 6 months later is Chemos and all the buildings that are still in the ocean, why are they still in the ocean? Why didn't they pull those up into parking lots and contain them out of the ocean? We took the drone footages. The county's putting out that all the brown water you see in Lahaina is all from the ash. Totally inaccurate. Our drone shots show really clearly on that last rain there was 6 inches up in the mountain or more, and 99.9% of that water that came out of Lahaina came out of Lahaina Luna River, and it came out of Puamana River, and it didn't touch the house sites. And our drone shots show that their soil attack was holding the ash in place, and it was not running into the ocean. And all that brown material they see in the ocean, that's a problem. That's bad mismanagement up in the mountains and deforestation and everything that was left by the legacy of bad agriculture. And we went from a legacy of bad agriculture right into a legacy of bad tourism, whatever else you want to call it. And we've been displaced and turned into second-class citizens. And so the government should actually be putting facts out and not using, oh, there's brown water, it's all the ash toxifying it, we need to get it to Olowalu. This is just not true. And the footage will show that it's not true. And when are they going to wake up and start putting the correct narrative? Yes, we've made a few mistakes. Yes, we should be taking the trouble spots and containing them. That solves that problem. Why contaminate another place when Lahaina doesn't have people passing by it? You're going to be in a hazmat suit for the next 3 years in Lahaina, no matter what you do. So why wouldn't you keep it there instead of putting everybody into it? Maybe tourists and people from the mainland, maybe you need to speak out for us. Do you want to visit a toxic Maui? Do you want to visit a place where they need to put signs by the way station that this is some of the most toxic material on the planet, that you better roll your windows up? That everybody that has to come through that bottleneck in and out of Lahaina is going to be subject to this. And in Lahaina, it's miles away from them. There's no logic in this. And so we need everybody to force the powers that be to see logically what the problems are, to address them, and not just say Corps engineers said. But Corps engineers said. Corps engineers also told us that the ash in Lahaina was 1 ton per 1 cubic yard. Now we know some of the heaviest material in there is concrete and metal. Concrete weighs 900 pounds per cubic yard. Their math was over 50% off. This is the Corps of Engineers, the guys you're saying you're getting your information from. So what's happening is they have guys that are used to dealing with the public. Why don't you ask the scientists? The information we put on the mayor's desk is directly from the scientists at the EPA, but yet they wouldn't look at it. But they're telling us we're listening to the Corps of Engineers. Where'd the Corps of Engineers get their facts from? Those books from the EPA. So, it's such a hypocrisy that's what's happening, and just this pure denial around it. And again, so I just say, reach out, all of you, wherever you're at. You've been married here, you've parasailed here, you've come here. This is not a tourist destination. This is the Kingdom of Hawaii. And the Kanaka are still here. They're sitting in the background and they're displaced. And if you come here, you should come here to try to learn about the culture. You should come here to try to understand what aloha means and what it means to malama aina and all these cliches that the government uses to sell Hawaii and to put it out in the forefront. But reality is we're in trouble over here. And again, I want to bring the attention to the housing as well, because there are so many displaced people. And why is that? Because everybody from the mainland thought it was all right to come and buy a second and a third home over here, live in California and rent them out. And a house went from $600 a month to $2,300 a month. And so it's like, what's for a studio? How can we live here? Why are most of the Hawaiians living in Vegas? Why are they off island? We've been forced out of paradise. And you've heard that before, but it's fact. And so I'm speaking to all of you who come to visit us here and saying, look, if you want to come here and experience the culture and experience the people, then don't buy a $30 hamburger in a hotel. Come and spend that money with a local farmer, or come listen to some kupuna down in the valley and bring them some opihi or something. Do you follow the culture and what's here and what aloha means, rather than just coming here and not seeing what's happening and displacing us. So I don't mean that as any disrespect to the visitors, but you guys need to back us up as well now too, because you're going to be coming to a toxic dump yourself.
You hear that, I hope, clearly, right? You know, I mean, take the time to take a look at it yourself. Instagram is the best place to be able to see the videos, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that you can see a lot of what we put out on the Living Earth Systems Instagram or YouTube channel. We also are a nonprofit. We build houses for folks. Like I said in the beginning, we were displaced from our farm. I teach people how to homestead already and build solar systems. So with our nonprofit, which is recenters.org, we were recommended by Forbes magazine as one of the #1 small nonprofits to give to on the ground, because I don't take a salary. We don't take any money from it. 100% of it goes to our community. And so we're building houses and giving them to folks. And we've already given a few away. And that's what we'll be doing there for the next 2 years. So if you're in town and you go by Olowalu and you see our signs and you see our containers and you wonder what we're doing, we're growing food and we're building houses and giving them to folks. Not putting myself on a pedestal by no means, but imagine if all of us were like really doing things like these and trying to help, or instead of just making assumptions on social media or tearing us apart or judging us or trying to say like we're somehow doing something wrong and keeping the people out of Lahaina. We are also the people of Lahaina, and we love our friends and our neighbors and everybody we've grew up with, and we want to try our hardest to get them in homes.
And you shared, I thought, rather clearly that the toxic Lahaina situation isn't quickly going away. And it's going to be years until that is all cleared up. So there is no reason at all for people to support what's going on now without stopping and becoming part of the solution. I'm really thankful to hear that. You know, when I first heard about this, they would talk about pyrolysis. You may have seen a movie called The Need to Grow, with taking green waste and turning it into a biofuel and creating biochar and siphoning off without oxygen different chemicals at different temperatures. All these things are totally known to us and have been known to us. Please,
not to interrupt you, but I just want to speak on that. I only have a few minutes left. But some of the scientists you're going to hear from at our meeting on the 3rd, where we're putting that information out, we've been in contact with some of the best in the world that are through pyrolysis, through gasification, through several different processes that are real science that's happening now. Some of these people are going to speak on it, and they're going to tell you that this is possible, and they're going to. Why would the county not be looking at some of these solutions and for the future of Maui? Most of our trash isn't from us; it's from people from the mainland coming to visit here. It's like 80% of our trash. So, like, why wouldn't we find a way where we could move into the 21st century instead of just still dumping in leaky landfills that have proven again and again and again the destruction they leave behind?
Do I hear another song, young man?
Well, the bases are loaded and the batter is up. On the batter this time, the ambassador of Aloha from Hawaii, a true kanaka, came from the ground. Ambassador Aloha, Mr. Dono, requested me one day to write a song before I was going to leave and go back to the city of refuge in the Big Island. 4 hours later, I brought this song to him. And it's for the unity. I say, if we're going to, the bases are loaded, it's for the unity here in Hawaii. as I traveled from place to place. Some familiar and some are strange, to hear the ancient chantings of our home. As I listen to the stories, my eyes have seen the glory. So let us raise our voice in song to save our land. So all Hawaii stand together. It is now and forever to raise your voices and hold your banners high. And we shall stand as a nation to guide the destiny of our generations, to sing and praise the glories of our land. From within stone walls and cities of refuge, we learn the sacred ways. Upon Waipio's valley for the ancient battles rage, and from the barren slopes of Kaho'olawe and shores of Kahanabe, we shall claim our lands from the barking sands to the valleys of Hanalei. All Hawaii stand together. It is now and forever to raise your voices and hold your banners high. And we shall stand as a nation to guide the destiny of our generations, to sing and praise the glories of our land. And from the fiery pit of Tutupele, I hear my mother's call, and old Tutukane and Mauna Kea send their love to all, for to stand as one beneath the sun. Blessings from Haleakala and our sweet Kala, and Vaialeale where the greatest waters fall. So all Hawaii stand together. It is now and forever to raise your voices and hold your banners high. And we shall stand as a nation to guide the destiny of our generations, to sing and praise the glory of our land. All the people in Olowalu, people of Maui, Onepa'a, Lokai, Pomau, Hilawa, Ohana, let us be strong.
Wow. Well, we are down to the end of it. I'm a little bit blind. We have very little time left, but I want to thank you, EddieGarcia, and you, LikoMartin, for coming here on the show. This is an open door. Any information you want to be coming back, please rejoin us. And all the upcoming things that are coming, we are in full support of what you're doing. And thank you for the blessing that you're giving all of us. Thank you so very much. And thank you out there for getting involved. This is a time when your voice will be heard, and we want your involvement with us to help save Maui and save the world and be that example of what can happen when we cooperate. Blessings and aloha.